Hello, Rambler fans. Welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Locker. I'm Emily Morgenstern.
And I'm Dylan Conover. Members of the women's softball and basketball teams were awarded for their achievements, and men's volleyball is just 2 games away from its conference tournament.
All this and more on the Rambler Sports Locker. Brooke Woderski of the women's softball team has been named the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Week.
Woderski has been a terror lately for opposing pitchers. She reached base on 10 of 11 plate appearances over the last week and was able to draw 3 walks. On the season, Woderski is top 5 in the conference in nearly every offensive category, and she stands on top of the conference with 9 home runs and 78 total bases. Woderski looks to continue her hot hitting this weekend as the Ramblers host the first place Drake Bulldogs at Loyola Softball Park. Now we'll send it over to Kit Anderson for this week's number on By the Numbers.
Hey everyone, my name is Kit Anderson and welcome to this week's By the Numbers. The number for this week is 15. Gareth Bale, a midfielder for Real Madrid, has scored a total of 15 goals so far this season. A lethal combination of speed and skill, this accomplishment has put him on the list of top scorers in La Liga. Artem Nishmab wears the number 15 for the Chicago Blackhawks. He was traded to the Hawks in June of 2015. In baseball, the Detroit Tigers have played the Miami Marlins in Miami on Tuesday night. Both teams combined to score 15 runs in the game. Ian Kinsler of the Detroit Tigers hit the game-winning run in the 11th inning of the game. Legendary football star Bart Starr wore the number 15 during his career for the Green Bay Packers, where he has won 5 championships and 2 Super Bowls and 3 NFL championships. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1977. That's it for this week's By the Numbers. I'm Kit Anderson. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Kit. The women's golf team didn't let the strong wind stop them from performing well this weekend. The Ramblers had an impressive second-place finish at the Bradley Spring Invitational this past weekend. Senior Olivia Lindsley led the team, shooting a final round of 75 to earn a 7th-place finish on the individual leaderboard. Not far behind was senior Bernie Sinopol and freshman Elena Bowser, who finished in a 3-way tie for 13th place. Loyola travels this weekend south for Indiana State Spring Invitational, which is the final event before the MVC Championship. Cheryl Swoops, the women's basketball head coach, was elected to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Madeline Kenny has more for us on Swoops' ascent into basketball history.
Swoops, another long three-pointer. Oh. She got it! Are you kidding me?
Cheryl Swoops isn't just a legend in the women's game.
He's the best player in the WNBA.
She's a legend in the game of basketball.
She scores! It's a triple-double for Swoops, the first ever in the history of the WNBA. Move by Cheryl Swoops.
She changed the game for women's basketball forever, and now she'll be recognized for that. During her time at Texas Tech, Swoops rewrote the history books, etching her name in nearly every offensive and defensive record possible. In 1993, she led the Red Raiders to an NCAA national championship title and threw down a record-high 47 points.
Checked by Maya Walker. Swoops goes baseline. Cheryl Swoops scores to tie. 8 seconds to play.
She continued her career in the WNBA, being the first player to sign a contract with the league. In 12 seasons, Swoops won 4 consecutive WNBA championships. She's a 6-time WNBA All-Star, 3-time MVP, and 2-time scoring champion. She also represented Team USA on an international stage. Swoops is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist and 2-time gold recipient at the World Cup. Swoops retired from the league in 2011, but basketball still played a major role in her life. She experimented with broadcast before taking a head coaching position at Loyola University Chicago in 2013. Loyola basketball player Taylor Johnson says Swoops' extensive resume and experience brought a new excitement to the program.
Definitely starstruck at first, and then I got comfortable with her, and I was just excited to learn from someone who has as much background as she does. You know, being an Olympic champion, winning a NCAA championship. I was just eager to learn from her.
On Monday, Swoop's career culminated with an election into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, alongside basketball greats Shaquille O'Neal, Yao Ming, and Allen Iverson. O'Neal believes Swoops is well respected in the basketball world. He says, "I'm honored to be going in with her. She was awesome to watch. She could actually play with us. That's how good she was." But she jokes, Shaq is full of it. Swoops will be inducted into the Hall of Fame on September 10th in Springfield, Massachusetts. For the Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Madeline Kenny.
The men's volleyball team is preparing for its conference tournament as it heads into the home stretch of the season. After splitting a pair of road games in Phoenix against Grand Canyon University, the number 12 ranked Ramblers head home for the final games of the regular season. They host IPFW on Friday and number 8 ranked Ball State Saturday. The Ramblers hold the 3rd spot in the conference rankings, meaning they'll host a game in the upcoming conference tournament set to begin April 15th. And now let's send it over to Bridget Murphy and our analysts for this week's Ramble.
Hello and welcome to this week's Ramble. I'm your host, Bridget Murphy. I'm here with Nader Issa and Mike Nitch. Much like me with my brief hiatus from the RSL for the last couple of weeks, Major League Baseball is back. Both the Cubs and the White Sox began their seasons on Monday, and analysts are saying that this is finally the year that the Cubs are going to win it all. So, is this the year that the Cubs finally break that curse? Nader.
Yes, I think this is finally the year they win. Look, there are some obstacles. First of all, it's the Cubs. They haven't won in over a century. They're a young team. They're a little bit inexperienced. But the majority of the roster is back. They went to the NLCS last year. They swept the Cardinals in the NLDS, won a series at home for the first time in history, and they've obviously had a long history. So, yeah, I think this is finally their year. They added depth in every single position, pitching, outfield, infield. They have 2 good catchers. They don't really have any weaknesses right now.
So you're saying they're stacked. Mike, what do you think?
I would agree. They did do a good job in the offseason, strengthening and moving forward with their current roster. But honestly, I don't think that at this point in the season we should be making predictions like that. But in this position, I would say no, I wouldn't pick the Cubs. I think that the Dodgers have a good shot. I think that the Mets have a good shot. Last season, we saw the Mets come and manhandle the Cubs, and that was ugly to see. Everybody was hoping to see the Cubs go on and win, but I think that the Mets have such a strong team, and then they're going to build on this revenge that they want from losing in the World Series this year. We saw the Royals lose in the World Series 2 years ago, then we saw them come and win it the next year. So I think that the Mets have a really good shot, especially over the Cubs.
But the Nader was talking about experience and how they brought most of the roster back. Do you think that is going to be the difference they need to beat teams like the Mets?
I think that in any sport, experience matters, and especially a long season sport like baseball. But again, I don't believe that the Cubs have that experience that they need, because last year was one of the first years where they actually made it past the first round of the playoffs and then, made it to the conference series. But I honestly couldn't see them going on and winning it this year. I don't.
And Mike said it twice now. It is a long season. What do you say to people who don't think that the Cubs roster can withstand the tides of the entire 162-game season?
Well, last year they did. They made it to the NLDS. They honestly destroyed the Cardinals. It wasn't even that good of a series. They went on to lose to the Mets, of course. But every great team in every sport, basketball, hockey, football, all the great teams lose deep in the playoffs before they actually go on to win a championship. The Cubs had that last year. They lost in the second to last round of the playoffs. They got swept, but every team needs to go through that. And having that experience, then moving that to this year with almost the same roster, plus a couple key additions. They got the biggest free agent in the offseason, and Jason Hayward. They have just the most talented roster and the experience of going deep in the playoffs last year. I don't see how any team can beat them come playoff time.
So closing comments, one statement, is this the year?
Yeah, this is the year. The Cubs have everything. They have the talent. They have the experience of losing, so they're definitely motivated. They know everyone wants them, not wants them, everyone expects them to win. So they have nothing to lose.
Mike.
Well, I would say expectations can become really heavy once you get down to the last few games of the season. Just as they lost like this past season to the Mets, I think that they will go to the playoffs. I think that they will make it past the division series, but then I think that they will lose to the Mets. Definitely.
I'm going to go with Mike on this one. I just think that it's not realistic at this point to expect that the Cubs are going to come out and be the next greatest thing in baseball. But like you also said, they're going to do well, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll win, but it's kind of a long shot at this point. And for anyone who's getting too hopeful out there, you can catch Catching Hell on ESPN. It's the Steve Bartman story. Back to you at the desk.
Let's hope we don't have another Steve Bartman incident this season.
We can only hope. Want to get involved? Follow and like our social media and join the conversation.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Dylan Conover.
And I'm Emily Morgenstern. Tune into next week's episode of the Rambler Sports Locker for an up-to-date look at Loyola sports and beyond.
And as always, don't forget to turn out the lights.